Let's talk about the console versions of Payday 3, because as someone who kind of built his audience up from the console players of Payday 2, I feel like it's only right now that we have a bit more information about console for Payday 3 that I sit down and talk to you all about it, not least of all because I will be playing Payday 3 on console anyway. That's going to be my primary platform. But I know there's been a lot of doubts, a lot of concerns, a lot of queries from console players as to whether they can really trust Overkill and Starbreeze to get it right this time around. And to be honest, to everyone who still has their concerns, I really don't blame you, because consoles have been screwed over by Payday and Overkill a few too many times for some people to be comfortable with, and I really don't blame you. And I know that Overkill and Starbreeze feel the same, because actions are what prove what you're doing rather than words. You can't just say things will be better, because the actions are what will justify that. But in today's video, what I want to do is list a couple of reasons as to why we now have more information to trust that this time I think they might just get consoles right, that Payday 3 might finally be the game it deserves to be on consoles in the way that Payday 2 never quite got. I'd also just like to do a very tiny little plug. If you saw my community post a couple days ago, you'll know that I have a second channel called Troy's Thoughts. If you're enjoying this kind of commentary style video of Payday that I've picked up in the last week or two, having done a lot of the videos talking like this rather than just narrating over gameplay, you may well enjoy my channel over there where I talk about things separate to Payday. So if you want to hear my opinions on movies, other games, TV shows, head on over there and scope it out. I should have just put out my video talking about The Flash, which has been a bit of a divisive movie, but I quite enjoyed. So if you want to hear my take on that, feel free to go and scope it out, or just sub to the channel in general. We're nearly at 700 subs. It'd be cool to have some more people over there. But either way, console time, baby. Let's get into it. So for me, there are three big things as to why I think people should give console another chance with Payday 3. And what I'm going to do is work my way upwards and get to the big one by the end, because some of the reasons we've talked about a bit before, and I want to get them out of the way before getting to the big thing, and some of them are newer bits of information, but don't need much talking about either. But let's start off with the one that I've talked about the most over the last few years, mainly so I can get it out of the way, which is the engine change. I've talked about this in previous videos quite a few times now, but a lot of Payday 2's console problems came down to the diesel engine. It was never a good engine, we all know this by now. It was a terrible little racing engine that should not have made it past racing games, for being completely honest, but that's beside the point. But Diesel was not very good at porting content between platforms. It was a big reason why Payday 2 didn't work on consoles, because you would have to just build things up from scratch. You may be able to get some core framework over, but everything else had to be redeveloped. And Overkill is not a massive studio. That became a bit of a problem as time went by, because obviously with consoles, you would then have their own unique bugs, their own unique issues. When it launched on Xbox One, there were loads of matchmaking issues to the point where there isn't a basic crime net on there now. You have to search for contracts rather than have them pop up. So console, aside from having all of its own unique bugs and issues that come with those platforms, had to have content rebuilt, designed for them. It couldn't just be ported and re-released. It took a lot of redevelopment, and that was a big problem as to why things fell behind. But that was mainly down to Diesel engine. So what we really needed is a game to be built on an engine that was far more stable and allowed things to be ported across much easier. Enter Unreal. Unreal Engine 4 is one of the most commonly recognised and well-known game engines in gaming today, and it's much better for building up a game and transferring it from platform to platform. Build it up with PC in mind, slap it over to Xbox, tweak a few things, job done. Same for PlayStation, same for whatever you want to build it on. It's a very, very cool, high-end engine, much better than the stuff you get with Diesel, that allows some more flexibility. So the first thing is, in terms of key problems as to why Payday 2 went wrong, that key problem is going to show its face in Payday 3 because it's on a more common game engine and it makes life a lot easier. So that's just a big one that I wanted to get out of the way, because in case people haven't heard it already, that's one thing to trust in, because some people still don't know about the engine change. But in case you don't know, it's been confirmed to be Unreal Engine 4, and in the recent FAQ that came up from Elizabeth, it is going to be upgraded to Unreal Engine 5 post-launch at some point. Doesn't make much difference for consoles, it just means that either way it's going to be Unreal, and it will make console content very easy to manage, much easier than it was on Payday 2. The next thing to talk about also is Xbox Game Pass, because that was not something I expected at all. In case you haven't already seen my reaction, here it is from the Payday 3 gameplay reveal. Alright, I don't know. September 21st, there we go. Wait, it's on Game Pass?
Oh, jeez. So I don't know if anyone else agreed, but I thought that...
I genuinely did not expect Payday 3 to be day one Game Pass on Xbox. I mean, Payday 2 is currently on Game Pass, but that took a long time to get over there. In fairness, Game Pass wasn't really a thing at all when Payday 2 came out on consoles, but you get my point, it took a while for that to happen. For Payday 3 to be there day one, I think is a really, really good way to get people who don't quite trust Overkill and Starbreeze again after the console stuff to get in, give it a go, and see that things are going to be better this time around. Because as I've said, It's not about what you say, it's about what you do. And even what I'm saying right now, even though I'm hoping this makes people feel a bit more comfortable with the console versions, I like that actions will prove it better than what I'm saying. And a big action is letting people try it for free with no consequences as long as you own a membership, so I suppose not totally for free. But you don't have to invest in the new game to try it out and see things working. You can watch it get the updates at the same time and go, oh, they're getting it right this time, I can invest my money into it, and that's a really cool thing. It's a shame that that isn't on offer for the PlayStation fan base. There isn't any kind of way you can get that involved over there, but at least some of the console players will be able to get a hands-free look at the base game. And it's not like Overkill are doing a massive disservice to them money-wise and profitability, because as we all know, Payday 3 is going to get its real money from its season passes and its Payday credits. I don't really know much about that still, and I kind of still want to talk about microtransactions in their own thing. I'm hoping maybe they'll touch on it in a Dev Diaries episode at some point, so we'll wait and see if that's going to happen. If not, I'll do a video on it anyway. But I really think that they're going to make most of their money from post-launch stuff anyway, so I don't think it'll be a great loss in the long run for console players to get access to the game for free at base if you've got that Game Pass membership. Not to mention the fact that you've got people who probably wouldn't have bought the game to begin with, picking it up on Game Pass, then spending money on the DLC. It all balances out in the end, and I think it's probably why they made the calculation that putting it on Game Pass was a smart move. It lets people get hands-on with the game at no extra cost. It allows them to try and make up for the mistakes of Payday 2 by making them not pay for the next game. It's a nice idea, and I really, really like that. So if you didn't already know, Payday 3 will be day one on Xbox Game Pass, so on September 21st, you can go straight in and play the game. But the last one, and the big one, before I get into a section just reading some of your comments and answering some of your questions, is crossplay, and more importantly, cross progression. If you've been watching my videos for anywhere near the last year or 2 years, you'll know I've been arguing that crossplay was something I really wanted to see in Payday 3, and one of the big reasons for that was that it would force Overkill and Starbreeze to make sure that the console versions of Payday 3 were constantly up to date with PC, because you couldn't have crossplay without it. So let me explain just a little bit about how crossplay and cross progression work, in case you aren't up to speed and don't know what's going on. Crossplay allows you to play the video game online with people regardless of platform. So people on PC can play heist with people on Xbox, people on PlayStation with PC, and so on and so forth. But there is a really important part of crossplay that I think some people might forget or just not think about, and that part is that you can't do crossplay with people if different platforms have different content. How on earth are you going to join someone else's lobby if they're playing a heist that a certain platform hasn't unlocked yet? It's not going to happen, is it? And in saying this, I want to debunk a theory, because some of you might be sat out there thinking, well, in the past, there have been games with crossplay that have had platform-exclusive content, so how are you going to justify it knowing that exists? And let me just explain. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, when that came out, had crossplay across consoles and PC, but PlayStation 5 had an exclusive survival game mode you couldn't get on PC or Xbox for a year afterwards. So you may say, well, Payday 3 could do that for a whole game. There could be more in PC, and then crossplay doesn't work as well. The reason that I don't think that's going to be an issue for Payday 3 is that the survival game mode was a completely separate beast. It's like saying in Modern Warfare, if you got into a multiplayer lobby, certain maps wouldn't have been available, so you'd have been screwed. And that wasn't the case. It never would have been the case. So in Payday 3, once you join a lobby, the possibilities are completely open as to which heist can be played. So there's no way that the games could even be slightly different, because if you do join a lobby from a different platform and you don't have some heist, what happens if someone picks the heist that that platform doesn't have? The whole game would collapse and break, and crossplay would never work. So it physically cannot go wrong with that in mind. If you've got crossplay set up on such a core game where there's only really one mode, and that's playing heists online, you can't leave content out. It's got to be up to date, and that's why I've wanted crossplay for all this time, because it forces Starbreeze, whether they were going to or not, to make sure they could get it right and make sure all platforms were updated at the same time. But the even better thing that adds to my argument even more, and that I want to add on here, is cross progression, because even I didn't see this coming. But cross progression actually makes a lot more sense, because what that does is allows you to play a heist on a particular platform, say Xbox. You level up, you get your cool guns, your cash, whatever. You can turn it off on Xbox, load it up on a PC, and you're at the exact same point you left off. You can play on any platform that you want, anytime, and everything will carry over, no matter what you play on, which has always been an amazing thing for cross progression, and not enough games have that. It's a fantastic thing. And much like with crossplay, Call of Duty has been a bit of a pioneer for that for multiplayer games, and it's been very cool to see. So I really like that we're getting that in Payday 3. So not only are you going to be forced to have all the same content because you can't play online with people without it, you also can't maintain cross progression if you can't do the same things on different platforms. So physically, it all has to work, otherwise the system breaks down immediately. They haven't got an engine that causes the problems like Diesel did, and they're now introducing crossplay and cross progression, which means that everything's going to work much more succinctly and bring everyone together. One of the biggest issues I had with Payday 2 was that the audiences felt so disjointed. The fact that you could do a PC update video and you'd have all those people saying, "This looks so fun, but I'm on console. Oh, I can't wait till console heisters get this in 2052. Like, the amount of times I saw those comments, and it broke my heart personally, because as I said at the start of this video, my audience came from consoles. The reason I even ended up on Overkill's radar when they asked me to be a partner was because they knew me for my console content, and it really gutted me when I got to that point where there was nothing else I could say, where the update stopped and I was basically forced to move to PC because I had a laptop that could run it at the time, and I thought, well, PC Payday's content's better than no Payday content, and had to make the switch. I know some people hated me for that at the time, but I couldn't really avoid it because it just ended up dying off on console, and it broke my heart. So I, more than anyone else, am very excited for the idea of a Payday game actually being right this time around on consoles. I'm excited for it. I'm hopeful for it. Before we end, though, I just want to read a couple of comments from you guys, because I put a post out asking you for what you thought. Sussy EP God said, as a console player, one of the things I hope is improved on the most in Payday 3 is story progression, because in Payday 2, the story mode ends after Crime Spree, which is after Scarface Mansion. Yes, I completely agree. I remember at the time when Goris, and I remember Goris, the Overkill dev that used to work on consoles and then disappeared into thin air, who knows if he even still works for Starbreeze, but he put out a thing saying that the story mode in Payday 2 went up to everything that was available in the game. And that wasn't true. It stopped after Crime Spree and Scarface, and there were more heists even in Payday 2's console versions that were available that story mode didn't let you do. But I really hated that they added story mode to begin with on consoles. I don't see why they even bothered doing that, purely because why would you add a story mode to a game you're not going to be able to add all the heists to anyway? Even when they did the Winds of Change console edition post and said we may be able to get other stuff out, they guaranteed 6 heists that wouldn't be coming, and they were integral to the story mode anyway. So why they even bothered adding story mode to begin with is beyond me. Maybe they thought it was too integral to that certain build of the game they were adding to consoles to remove it, but I don't know. Either way, because everything's going to be up to date, we'll see that same story progression. So I agree, I'm hoping we see that, and I think it's 99.9% likely we'll see it all flow out the same way, irrespective of your platform. The Psycho guy said they only want 3 things back: Silent Killer, the skill that gave you more damage for suppressed weapons, the Payday 2 heist track list, and also some of the newer weapons from Payday 2 that they never got to use due to console. And that's a very good point as well, because a lot of the really cool weapons in Payday 2 have come out in the latter years in the revival era that console haven't seen a whiff of. So yeah, I agree. I think as a console platform, we need to see some interesting weapons at launch or coming in early DLC that allow console heisters to play with the stuff that they never got the chance to do in Payday 2 on PC. That's a really nice idea. I like that a lot. Gamer Pez asks if I think we'll see FOV sliders on console at launch. Considering that was one of the most begged for things on consoles, it took him a while to do it, and then the amount of rejoice they got afterwards, I think it's going to be there at base at launch. I think an FOV slider is a very natural thing now for first-person shooters. It's common on PC and console, so I don't personally see why there wouldn't be one, in my opinion. I think that it's a fairly likely thing showing up. Propaganda Parker says, something I'm wondering about is if we will still see heists on PC that don't come to console, not including the final couple of heists of Payday 2, since development stopped on console. Go Bank doesn't exist on the PS4 version of Payday 2, likely because it's based on a Valve map, so I hope there are no platform-exclusive missions. Someone underneath replied that they're not missing out on much with Go Bank, which is fair, but it's besides the point, because I do agree that I don't really think there should be any kind of platform-exclusive heists. And again, with the layering that crossplay and cross-progression will bring with Payday 3, and like I said, because you can't do what Modern Warfare did, where survival is a completely unique mode that you could just lock off, you can't really have heists that aren't playable on certain platforms but are on others. It would break the matchmaking system. You would not be able to join lobbies, because if they suddenly picked that heist, it would just crash the whole thing, and you'd be locked to playing with people on the same platform anyway, so crossplay just wouldn't work. So why promise it? So I personally agree. I don't think we'll see any platform-exclusive heists. I think that's a very good thing. I think now more than ever, we need all versions of Payday 3 to feel like they're on equal footing. It's something that has been sorely lacking, and now's a chance to make up for it. So yeah, I'm very, very hopeful for that. Very hopeful. Benz has commented saying 2 things on why console will be good this time. First off, both PC and console will have the same engines. They won't have to start from scratch to make console updates. And second point is stay on Game Pass, which means they've developed a relationship with Microsoft, and updates won't have to go through as much venting as they did, since Overkill wasn't that well known at the time. That's true. I had heard that certain updates just struggled to get through Microsoft and Sony very quickly. It took them a while to get approved. So yeah, hopefully that's all right. But with them having to release things at the same time, they're going to have to prepare ahead and make sure that every platform can approve things in time. So, you know, regardless, they're going to have to make sure that they're all set up, ready to go. But maybe them being a bit more well-known now, getting a game on Game Pass means that it'll be a little bit easier to get things out ahead of time. So, yeah, that's a really good idea and a really good point. So, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. And the final question from you guys comes from Puppycat97, who said, something came to mind yesterday in the topic of cross-progression, because while it does sound awesome, especially because I'm planning to get multiple versions, it gave me an interesting question, which is, how are the DLCs going to work with that? If and when the DLCs come out and I buy them on console, will they be unlockable on PC as well, or would you have to buy them again? I've been thinking about this a little bit. I've talked to a couple of other people about it to get their takes, and I think we all kind of agree. What I would expect and hope for this, and I'm hoping Starbreeze can clarify this, is that you have to buy Payday 3 on whatever platform you're playing it on, unless it's Xbox, because Game Pass, But all the DLC, if they can tie it to your Nebula account, because as we talked about before, you'll need a Starbreeze Nebula account anyway to be able to play crossplay, because it'll connect to whatever online service you're using, that will be able to tie to what DLC you own, and it'll pick it up on other platforms. So I really hope that even if you have to buy Payday 3 on whatever platform you're using, you buy the DLC once on one platform and it just picks it up on the other. It knows you own it and doesn't have to faff around with that. That would be the most logical thing to me personally. Even though I literally said earlier that they will make more money off DLC than selling the base game, so it seems a bit counterintuitive to charge again for the game but not the DLC. I just think that's a more user-friendly way in terms of playing between platforms. I know I personally, as someone who's, like I said, is going to main console, doesn't mean necessarily I won't fire up PC occasionally and try modding, depending on how that's going to work, but I won't want to do it if I have to buy all the DLC again. Then I'll make the whole thing a moot point and honestly pointless. So, interesting point. Let me know what you all think of that in the comment section below. Do you think they'll execute it in a good way? Do you think you have to pay for everything all over again? Or just the base game? Or just the DLC? Let me know. I would be intrigued to know everyone's thoughts. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is all my thoughts on why I think this time around, consoles will get it right for Payday 3. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, I greatly appreciate it. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you're new to stay in tune with all my Payday 2 and Payday 3 discussion videos for all platforms. Thank you all for watching. Greatly appreciate it. I will see you all in just a couple of days' time with another brand new video. I'm trying to keep that grind out. I'm looking to try and do 3 videos a week, depending on how much I've got to talk about and also how much more information keeps coming out from Overkill. If that starts to trickle out, I'll go back to maybe twice a week, maybe once a week, but we'll just see. Right now, I've got lots of things I want to put out, so I'm going to keep on coming. So thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you all very soon with a brand new video. And until then, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.